Ladies and gentlemen, my name is TotalBiscuit, bringing you some more League of Legends gameplay, and we're playing normals at the moment with our fixed team setup. Reason is that we like to try out dumb compositions in normal mode, because hey, it doesn't matter, it's not ranked, it's actually a lot less stressful. Play a lot of ranked and you tend to get very, very stressed out. It's a kind of game where things can go horribly wrong and then you end up getting very vindictive against your teammates. You blame each other for all sorts of things. Whereas normals, it doesn't really matter in this. It doesn't affect your ELO rating in any way, shape, or form, so you can do dumb stuff. And so every now and again we do theme teams. In this case, we're doing something we like to call Monstermash, which is the restriction that you may only pick non-humanoid monstrous characters. So as you can see right there, we have the evil tree, we've got the evil spirit with the blades on his arms, we've got Urgot, we've got Cho'Gath, Loch Ness Cho'Gath no less, and we also have King Rammus, who's possibly the least fearsome of the lot, but still constitutes as a non-humanoid. We did try a stealth team. It did not work out very well, needless to say. Stealth teams are completely unviable because they're countered by very simple items. So that kind of sucks. Oh well, never mind. This team composition is not what I would call ideal, but again, it is a normal mode, so we don't give a damn. Plus, we're also bringing along a level 9 with us. The Maokai player is relatively inexperienced, so just bringing along a lower level just to have a little bit of fun. And I would highly recommend that every once in a while you guys do this in League of Legends, because it does mean that you get a lot less annoyed with the whole thing. Righty-ho then, so I'm playing Rammus. Now, I'm not playing jungle Rammus because our Nocturne's going in the jungle. I'm actually playing Rammus in a lane. Rammus in a lane is alright, and it's not the worst thing in the world. It's kind of annoying to have to take Rammus in a lane, though, simply because he is such a good jungler, and the reason he's a good jungler is because of his ganking ability. He can just come out of the jungle into any lane incredibly fast thanks to his ability Powerball. So you can smash your way into anybody. You're an amazing support ganker. Don't expect to get a lot of kills with Rammus, but expect to be able to get a lot of assists and enable a lot of kills. Also expect to perhaps not die all that much. So there are certain items like, say, Leviathan that might be a little bit viable with Rammus if you're doing well, although I would never actively encourage people to take a snowball item. Reason for that is that snowball items don't really make a lot of sense, because snowball items are really good for when you're ahead, and if you're ahead, then you really want to be taking more useful items, and also you don't know the way the game is going to turn. You tend to become a big target if you take snowball items. Sometimes that's fine. I'm just roaming around the place right now. As you can see, I will be going to the bottom lane. I'm going to be laning with Maokai, which is this angry looking tree right here. This is actually the first time I've ever seen Maokai actually played. I would love to try him out, and I do have all the heroes now, so I think I might do that at some point. Yes, we are. Our Nocturne can't even spell. That's just is standard. We couldn't care less. We'd just done 2 losses as our silly stealth team that blatantly wasn't going to work against a lot of tryhards, no less. It's always interesting to see people in normal games take these compositions which are blatantly designed for ladder, but hey. Whatever. I'm not really going to condemn people for taking compositions like that. It just seems like normal is the place to try out new champions and try fun, weird stuff, because it's not ranked, as opposed to ranked games where you can't do things like that. You know, the ability to, say, play a hero that gets consistently banned. You know? If you ever want to play Annie, chances are you're going to be playing elsewhere. Now, as you can see, I am clearly baiting him into attacking me by deliberately spinning right into the stun. Please note that that is not the case. I am lying through my back teeth. Whatever the case, we came out quite nicely there, without too much of a problem. Now, this lane composition, this Rammus Maokai lane, actually has some viability. The reason being that we've got quite a bit of stun here. We've got quite a bit of resilience. Maokai starts off quite nicely. And what we can do is we can taunt into that treant ability. So I could, say, drag somebody back into the treant, and the AoE damage pops off, and big damage is done. Now, Rammus has very little ability to do big damage. His passive ability is Spiked Shell. So, as you can see, you've got to get armor with this guy. You must. Picked up a Doran's Shield to begin with, and I also have armor runes, as you can imagine, and I'm using a defensive mastery set. Playing pretty much pure tank, which in a lane really is the only way to do it. You might have to switch things up just a little bit if you want to take him into the jungle. for obvious reasons, because sometimes you just can't go in with that kind of setup. You've got to alter it a little bit. But whatever the case, if you're going in lane, you almost certainly will take a full, all-out tanking set. Now, somebody tried to tower dive a Cho'Gath. That wasn't a very good idea. Swain decides to donate himself to Cho'Gath's cause. Total Digest is rather monstrous when he plays Cho'Gath solo top, so it should be kind of amusing. Unable to get any real good hits on here just yet. I'm eating a lot of damage here, but just consider that I can. I've got good health regeneration. Now that I've picked up defensive ball curl as well, I'll be able to absorb a lot of punishment. It's good, as I say, it's a very resilient lane otherwise, with some good area of effect. Lacking a little bit of disable on Maokai's side at the moment, but nothing that Rammus can't compensate for. Also taking Puncturing Taunt right here. It's gotta be one of the best tanking abilities in the game. This is brilliant. It lets you be a proper tank. You can taunt a target, and you reduce their armor, and you force them to attack Rammus, which is perfect, because you combine it with defensive ball curl, and that is actually going to return magic damage to the attackers. Absolutely perfect. You can also use it to drag people into towers, or indeed away from towers into other abilities. It is pretty brilliant in that regard. Now, that was an opportunity where I could have taunted, and I indeed should have taunted. I haven't played Rammus for a very long time, so I'm somewhat out of practice. Rammus used to be my tank of choice when I played about 6 months ago. This is my first time playing Rammus again, I think, in those 6 months. I'm pretty sure I haven't played him since then, so there you go. Could have dragged Lux out to do some more damage. That was a missed opportunity right there. However, we're doing alright down here. The Maokai is getting good CS, which is what we want. You know, we want him to get plenty of creatures slain, as it's called. That's why it's called CS. Or creep slain, whichever you prefer. Both work. Doing good damage to a Mumu as well. I mean, Mumu's taking a regrowth pendant, which is annoying as hell, but we'll deal with it. Cho'Gath destroying everybody. Digest playing very, very well against them. But Swain would like to donate his soul against Cho'Gath by the looks of it. It's okay with me. Not a problem. Now, Powerball is actually such... I wouldn't call it complex ability, but it has so much depth that you can do all sorts of crazy things with it. It's the reason I took Flash. You can actually flash while you're powerballing, so you can face flash, as it's called. You can drop yourself on top of somebody and do huge damage, and, of course, do a great initiation into a team fight. Just don't expect to be getting many kills with Rammus. He has no real damage abilities, with the exception of Tremors, which may get you a kill if you're lucky, but really, you want to be relying on gold per 5 items and, of course, assists, as opposed to actually getting any real kills. We did pretty well there, forcing yet another flash. Means they have no escape, so we can take a Mumu. No problem at all. We lose... Unfortunately, end up losing Maokai in the process. I don't really want to engage with that Lux either right now, but hey, we kill the Mumu. 1-for-1 trade is not too bad. What I wouldn't like to do is to feed that Lux. Just dodge our way out of the way of that. A defensive ball kill right there, doing a little bit of damage, but now I do need to leave. It's more of a case of, hey, can I last in the lane against Lux? Well, you kind of can. That's the cool thing with Rammus, is that you can last when otherwise you don't expect to be able to. And now Total Digest, if he pulls this off, can actually pick up a kill against Lux. A quick teleport, which is why having teleport on the top lane character is brilliant. Usually he ends up being a higher level than the bottom lane, so he can teleport into the bottom lane to get ganks, things like that. Not entirely sure what Nocturne was doing there, but hey. Almost killed both of them, so I suppose I'll give him credit for that. Now, another thing to consider with Rammus that I'm not doing here, but I do later on in the game, is that Powerball is and should be used for speed, as you can see right there. However, there's a trick called fountain balling, and what that involves is you start the Powerball in the fountain, and then you wait for about 2 ticks of mana regen, and then you start moving out there. Now, what that gives you is the ability to reach the inhibitor a full 6 seconds before you would otherwise. So you get load speed getting back into the lane. This is why I disagree with taking teleport with Rammus, for instance, because you already have Powerball, which gets you into the lane much faster anyway. What does that mean? More experience, means more gold, less time out of the lane. Perfect. The least amount of time you spend out of the lane is what you should be aiming to do. You want to try and minimize that as much as possible, really with any character, but Rammus has a great ability to do it. Now, we've pushed this lane pretty hard, which is not really surprising. I mean, it's a Rammus Maokai lane. It's a very heavy pushing lane. Maokai's a brilliant pusher simply because of his AoE. He trounces his way through creeps. Can have a look at some CS in the meantime, since nothing's really going on. Urgot's doing really nicely there, which is to be expected, whereas Ezreal not so well. Cho'Gath's CS could be higher, certainly. Mine is basically nothing, as is Maokai's at the moment, which is a bit unfortunate. You have to look at Amumu's, however, and Lux's. We're actually about equal. So it's not too bad. Gonna end up eating another one of those. Should have gone defensive ball kill before that, and then I could have eaten a lot more damage and absorbed it, of course. That would have made sense. It's quite a resilient lane on their end as well, simply because they have Amumu and Lux. Lux's shield can make things a little trickier. Now, you'll notice what Maokai's doing here is he's placing his saplings as kind of like temporary wards. He threw them around that side to keep an eye on things. I'd also like to point out this opposing team is not using a jungler, which is not helping them one little bit. It means that their top lane is gaining far less experience than it should, and Cho'Gath does a perfect job of staying in a lane against two people. As you can see, they're going to go for him there, and he will not die. Please bear in mind the health bars, as always, are inaccurate. In the meantime, nice easy gank in the middle there, perhaps, but it is Ezreal. Ezreal's kind of hard to gank, unless he doesn't run away. In this case, it's very easy to gank. Okay, let's eat an ulti. We're going to get a little bit of engagement down the bottom right here. Lux hits me with that. We might be able to get him, maybe. I took a heavy amount of damage there, plus an ignite, so it was kind of unfortunate. I'm going to end up taking a set of Mercury Treads against this lane, simply because of the amount of stun and disable. Now, I'm staying in the lane for the time being because I can. I know that Amumu's damage output is very low. Lux has been forced to go back, so I'm not too worried about that. And I also know she's just used her ultimate, so the chance of me getting sniped off is fairly minimal. She doesn't really have the damage to snipe me off at the moment anyway, but in combination with, say, a bandage from Amumu, some point in the next 45 or so seconds, that might do the job. Lux's ulti can be quite nasty, as you can see. It's a laser that will actually flash across the entire map. In the meantime, Cho'Gath smacking down, forcing a flash. Forcing flash is a wonderful thing, by the way. It's something you should be aiming to do. If you can force somebody to panic flash, then that means you get a much better engagement later on. See, we've already got a flash there, which means this character can't get away as easily. That Swain should die. There we go, and Nocturne will be able to get out of there if he doesn't screw it up. And indeed picks up the double kill. Nothing wrong with that. We're doing fairly well so far. Pretty happy with that. I used to play Urgot, actually, and he was awful when I played him. It looks like they've buffed him quite a lot, and Ezreal doesn't actually stand a chance in a straight-up fight against Urgot. Urgot has such ridiculous damage early game. Really, really good. And Amar is playing him very nicely with those homing abilities as well. What happens with Urgot is you'll hit him with an acid splash, and that actually puts a tracking... It's kind of like a tracking dart. And you can then start firing those blades in the vague direction of your opponent. You can lock on as well if you hover it above them. It's really, really nice. Right, get me back into the lane as quickly as possible with defensive ball curl. I'm slightly behind here, which is kind of unfortunate. I'm going to try and get my experience up. I mean, I'm very close to getting to 7, so I'm not as far behind as one might think. Picked up a pair of boots and some potions as well because I want to stay in the lane a little bit longer. Don't want to engage here, needless to say. I don't have my lane partner, so that would be a little silly. Now, later on in the game, as Rammus, you're going to be expected to be eating a lot of damage. That is your purpose, and to initiate. You're good at chasing people down as well, but not so much going in for the kill unless they're very low HP, because really you're not going to do a lot of damage. You can hit for a reasonable amount, but you have very slow attack speed, and otherwise you'll have probably used your tremors in the team fight anyway, because it's that area of effect damage attack, so you're not going to have that available either. Chase them back there. Now, you'll notice I do have defensive ball curl up right here. Defensive ball curl, you can cancel out of that, and you probably should in some situations, because you move slightly slow with defensive ball curl on, and you cannot use other abilities. Now, it's a bit of an engagement right here. Now, we do have the damage to do it. We did just eat a massive ulti from that. There's the quick amount of damage. Can we clean Lux up? Yes, we can. We lose Maokai in the process, but I think I'll take myself a free Amumu. Delicious. Amumu's tears didn't do a huge amount of damage to me there. Don't have a massive amount of health. What you'll notice is, like, if you're playing Cho'Gath in a tanky way, which is what our Cho'Gath is doing. Actually, don't know where Cho'Gath is. There he is. Then he's often building for a lot of health. whereas Rammus will build for a lot of armor. Rammus benefits a lot from having that extra armor, because you get a lot of extra damage return on defensive ball curl, and you also get extra damage with spiked shell, so you can hit a little bit harder. It just makes last hitting a little bit easier. Don't expect to be doing huge amounts of damage in team fights with it, but hey, the harder you hit, the easier it is to last hit, because you've got a greater margin for error, so it's always worthwhile. Oh, that might be a free Aurelia. A lot of damage on it. He's a little bit tough, but hey, probably not tough enough. Delicious. And we can get a pickup on Swain as well, by the looks of it, who is so desperate to take out Nocturne. Does so. Give him credit for that. Although I think Total Digest might eat him alive. A good stun there by Swain. You never know. Swain gets away. That doesn't happen too many more times in the game, I have to say. Swain is fodder for the most part. He's a good hero, certainly, but in a double top lane, not so great. Once again, Maokai eating some damage, but nothing he can't regenerate quite nicely. He does have a catalyst, so next time he levels up, all of that damage is going to disappear. Absolutely perfect. I'm still taking a lot of punishment, but more to the point, I haven't left the lane, which is good. I'm building up a good reserve of gold, and I'm getting plenty of experience. I'm actually slightly ahead of Maokai as a direct result of that. I'm actually ahead of them too, because hey, resilience in the lane is very, very cool. Trying to regenerate just a little bit. There is the missed stun, and a possible opportunity right there. Defensive ball curl in there. Start beating on Rammus simply because we can't get to Lux. Rammus? That's not Rammus. Freaking Amumu. What am I talking about? Yes.
Your team has destroyed a turret.
It doesn't really make a lot of sense to beat on the tank most of the time, but in this case, we'll make an exception. He's picked up 2 gold per 5 items, actually. Might be something I want to consider. Lane Amumu is not awful, but once again, kind of like Rammus, he's really effective as a ganker, so it's nice to put him in the jungle. Right! Hey, freebies! Freebies, wonderful, wonderful freebies. Yes, I can tank the tower and only take 37 damage from the hit. Why do you ask? It's wonderful like that. We didn't kill Amumu, but hey, we took a Lux out of that, so you can hardly complain. I'm gonna be out now. I've got plenty of cash, and I don't have any real means to regenerate my HP, so I'm gonna turn in and grab myself some items. Pick up Mercury Treads right here. I say I want to just deal with... There's a lot of magic damage coming in the bottom lane, and we're also taking a lot of hits from stun, so having Mercury Treads, kind of nice. One of the ways to stop Rammus dead in his tracks is, of course, to stun him while he's doing a Powerball, so anything that reduces that is effective. Oh, dear. No, very, very nice flash right there by our Urgot, who is able to get out of there, and in comes Total Digest to throw down. And he's going to do just that. Miss right there with Ezreal's ulti. Could get the pickup if Total Digest decided not to run right into the stun. So much health, though. It's ridiculous. I'm going to hang around here, see if I can maybe get an initiation, which I can't. I end up hitting the creep instead, but I can also absorb a lot of damage. So get in the front, eat a lot of abilities so that my team doesn't have to. It's kind of what Rammus is for. Rammus is a damage sponge. But they're too close to the tower right now, so I don't think we're too keen on that. But we can take ourselves Dragon, since we have map control right now, so hey, why not? If they're going to sit at the tower, then take Dragon. If you have your entire team there, then try and bait them into a fight near Dragon, even better. If not, then they'll push the lane pretty hard, and you get a perfect opportunity to come from the right flank and gank, so it's wonderful. Lux moving around, however, she is too late. For the initiation on one of these guys, I'm going to chase down Lux if I can. There we go. It's a good lockdown. There's a quick taunt. Now she's going to do damage to herself in the process. End up using Tremor right there. In comes Maokai, and there's the pickup. It's nice. You don't get any kills with Rammus. I've had, say, 1, but it's still nice nonetheless. Unfortunate Ignite kill right there. Can we lock him down? Of course we can. And there's another kill. Rammus is an assist character. He can enable all sorts of wonderful ganks. That's what you should be happy with. If you're the kind of person that likes to see their KD go sky high, then you probably shouldn't be playing Rammus. If you like to win, Rammus is pretty cool. I say, Rammus used to be a very high tier character. He used to get banned an awful lot. Not so much anymore. I still think he's extremely effective. It's just maybe there are other tanks that people prefer. Amumu is a more commonly picked tank, as opposed to Rammus, for instance. Mostly because of Amumu's ulti, really. Amumu's ulti is just better. And late game, he scales really well because of tiers, so he's absolutely perfect against big, chunky characters like, say, Mordekaiser, simply because he's draining a lot of their health every second. Something to also consider about Rammus, by the way, is that Rammus is a good pusher because of Tremors. You can actually knock down towers with that. It does damage. Something to consider. Careful when you use your Tremors. Using Tremors against, say, one character, as I did earlier, is probably not the best way to do things. Save it. That's it. It has a very short cooldown. If you get a little bit of cooldown reduction, that's even better. So it ain't too shabby. Things are going fairly well for us thus far. I can't really complain. Our Monstermash team composition seems to work. I think it's more down to the fact that perhaps their team comp is average in certain respects. I mean, having a Mumu is great. Having Lux, cool. Ezreal, not so amazing these days. Ezreal used to be, like, top tier everything. Not so much anymore. So, not too concerned about that. I really take him and leave him. Well, otherwise, Total Digest slaughtering the top lane, as is to be expected. Very, very good at that. I'm going to pick a Warden's Mail. Randuin's Omen is an extremely common item for Rammus, usually because he can roll into the middle of a fight with Powerball, then fire off Randuin's Omen, which is a 2-second attack speed slow. Very, very nice indeed. And it's the item which you turn Heart of Gold into, so it makes sense to go for Randuin's. Heart of Gold is a very common opening item for Rammus for obvious reasons. And there's the initiation by me. Pop off the Tremors in the middle right there to do damage. And we might be able to pick up a double kill right there. Yes, we can. Nice shot there by Urgot. In the meantime, I'm going to come around the side and try to chase down Swain. Forced to flash, but I can still get him anyway. He turns around and now he's gone super Cyan bird mode nonsense, as I like to call it. It's the scientific term, folks. Thanks for noticing. Probably can't pick him up. Chances are he has left right now. But hey, keeping Swain out of the fight is good. Swain goes in the middle of a fight and pops that, then that's a lot of potential damage you can do. And obviously he's got a lot of stuns as well, so something you want to watch out for with him. He used to be awful, but Swain's a much better character now. Something I might have to consider actually playing him. He's a kind of fun caster by the looks of it. Oh, ho, ho, ho. No, I am Rammus. I can survive such things. I could have defensive ball killed quicker than that, and then I would have taken less damage, but I knew I was going to live through it anyway, so it's not really a big deal. I was out of position, and took a lot of damage from the tower. It's what I'm here for, but I'm not using defensive ball kill to absorb that damage, so I'm not playing the perfect Rammus here by any stretch of the imagination. No, no, no. I'm hoping some of you can get some advice as to how to play Rammus, mostly by looking at my mistakes. Also consider the thing that Rammus is a character about zoning. Cho'Gath kind of does this as well. Some people complain that Cho'Gath's Rupture, for instance, that big AoE spiky thing on the ground, is kind of useless because it's really hard to hit. It's got a delay, so a lot of characters can get out of it. But I think they're not really understanding what it can be used for. It can be used to stop people going to certain places. It can be used to herd people into an unfortunate position. Rammus can do the same thing with Powerball. You can actually go up to the front and you can sweep backwards and forwards, and no one is going to go in for you. And if they do, it's a perfect initiation, because if they go for you, that's the stun, then your team follows up with the gank. So, it's really, really great. Even if you don't hit anyone with Powerball, which is kind of the reason I'm keeping Powerball at a very low level right now. I'm maximizing defensive ball kill and puncturing taunt. I did take a second rank of that, which was a mistake. I actually clicked the wrong button. I always tend to keep Powerball at level 1, because really the value of Powerball is the zoning and the stun. Yeah, because it's got a slow with it, and it also knocks people out of ultis and crazy things like that, so it's kind of cool. You can do all sorts of nice things with it. In the case of taking the second rank of it, it scales with magic damage, so it's rubbish. You're not going to pick up magic damage with Rammus most of the time, so you're not going to be doing big damage. I mean, I've tried using like a high Powerball build for, say, creep farming. The problem is you generally have to take a lot of mana regen to make that work, so it's not 100% viable. Basically, he's designed to be built as a tank. So you take one rank of Powerball, you maximize defensive ball kill because it makes you last in a lane so much longer. So it's really, really nice. Oh, they killed Total Digest. How dare they? That was a nice little combo actually there, right next to the tower. The Amumu ulti into smashing him in the face with that Lux ulti as well. But they did just sink about 4 or 5 ultimates into him. It's wonderful. I'm going to staying out of the way because I didn't know where the mid lane was. They held the tower up for the time being, and this is an opportunity for us because, of course, we could go and dive this, but more to the point, will we actually pull it off? A lot of creeps around the place, which means the Powerball is difficult. Powerball can hit creeps, and it can also hit creatures, so it can hit enemy champions. You want to see my mistake here? This is my mistake right there. I didn't press defensive ball curl. I would have lasted much longer in that situation, and that would have gone way less disastrous. So that entire fight was my fault. I should have lasted a lot longer than I did. I didn't hit defensive ball curl. I don't know why. I don't know. We all make mistakes every now and again, but in that case, that was so critical, and we ended up losing that engagement because I didn't play properly. Always watch out for that. If you're going to go in, the first thing you should be doing, usually after a Powerball, there's two things you can do. Either, if you've Powerballed into someone and you want a Puncturing Taunt to draw them away, then do that, yeah? But make sure that you know who you're Puncturing Taunt. Otherwise, you go defensive ball curl. If you're rolling under a tower, you almost always go defensive ball curl. The only other possibility is that you decide to go with Tremors. And Tremors is okay if you're in the middle of a big force, but just bear that in mind. If you're near a tower, chances are you want defensive ball curl on, because plenty of enemy heroes are going to try to lock you down near the tower and get you killed, and chances are you've pulled tower aggro in the process when you went in there and started stomping on people. So do be careful. Okay. In the meantime, I've picked up a Randuin's Omen. Always nice. As you can see, the active is movement speed and attack speed reduction. It also scales with armor and magic resistance, which is really good. It didn't used to do that, if I don't recall. Yeah, I'm fairly sure I do recall that correctly. That makes Randuin's a lot better, and it also makes Randuin's an absolutely perfect item for Rammus. You can increase your armor and then use Randuin's. Something that I actually ended up learning after this fight because of the way that it scales. My knowledge of Randuin's was kind of out of date, and I didn't read the active, so I'm like, huh, okay, when I read about that after that, right, okay. So what you want to do is, if you've got a Randuin's Omen, since it scales with armor and magic resistance, what you want to do is you want to Powerball into them, activate defensive ball curl, and then immediately hit Randuin's Omen. You're going to get big slow. One way or the other, you've got a lot of armor. You can see it right there. You can very easily use Randuin's Omen. It's not a problem. You can do it with defensive ball curl on. So it's perfect. Okay. We are doing very, very well. We're 19-9. Everything is just fine. I've picked up a huge number of assists thus far, and I've only been killed once. Which is great. And at this point, if you're feeling a bit saucy, you might want to consider something like a Leviathan because of the amount of assists you're getting and the fact that you're not dying all that much. If I'd had a Leviathan earlier, for instance, I would have had tons of stacks on it, but it's a very debatable thing. Telling people to get a snowball item is the sort of thing that usually gets you shouted at, so just consider what kind of situation you're in and whether or not it'll really be beneficial to you to pick up something like that. There aren't really any other snowballs that help Rammus all that much. Leviathan is kind of cool because then you can focus purely on getting armor items, and the more assists you do, the better. Do a little bit of damage to the tower right there. I need to leave immediately. Give me the... Yeah. Ah! Oh, dear. That was unfortunate. I could have flashed out of that. So that was something I should have avoided. I actually thought that I wasn't going to get hit by that beam, but I was on the edge of it, unfortunately. But there you go. I think that's my only 2 deaths in this game, if I recall correctly. Once again, avoiding dying to stupid stuff, always nice. It's very easy to get away with Rammus because of Powerball, especially if you happen to have Flash as well. What I should have done there is when I saw that coming, I should have immediately switched into defensive ball curl, and I would have actually lived. But there you go. It happens. People make mistakes. It was a late night normal. We're not really focusing that much. But still, there's no excuse for that kind of thing. Do try and be better. Smart move right here by Cho'Gath, trying to pick up that blue simply because he was having mana problems. I don't know what his mana actually was at because LoL Replay doesn't record it accurately. But hey, Cho'Gath, late game with cooldown reduction, is spamming a lot of abilities, and as you see, he actually has no mana regen of any description with the exception of this Philosopher's Stone, so... You can see he's gone double gold items, which is kind of curious. I don't really know why I did that. It's not my preferred build, but I trust Total Digest to know what he's doing. I mean, he's got like... I think he's got about 1,000 wins, and a lot of those are ranked, so he does know an awful lot about the game. worth listening to anything he has to say, and if he builds that way, he's doing so for a reason. Could have a look at him. We'll see he's gone 5-1-1 with 154 creep kills. I mean, his CS is ridiculous in comparison to everyone else's, which, once again, is to be expected. If you've got a big stumpy Cho'Gath that doesn't die, then, yeah, he's going to be able to get a lot of creep kills. A bit of a cleanup right here. A few free gold. Hey, why not? We now have map control, so we want to be considering perhaps doing Baron at this point. That said, our ward coverage is minimal to nothing. We do know that Ezreal is down there. We also know that that ultimate actually missed, so we could get Baron right now. It's going to hang around and see if that sounds like a good idea. We don't know where they all are. That's kind of my problem with that. Sapling sitting around having a look at it. But yeah, we can go in, and we're going to go try and take that Baron. So, not too worried at the moment. We are going in with 4 people, which is kind of awful, but we've got a couple of saplings and we've got a ward there, so that's the common place that they would tend to come out of the jungle, either here or here. And we know that Lux is there, so we've got good warning. Maybe another ward here would have been smart to do this. This was not the safest Baron ever, but sometimes you do have to take risks. It's not too shabby. Frozen Heart Aura, so good with Baron in the mix right there. And there we go, we picked that up nice and easy. Now we can go into a fight if we like. Alternatively, let's just eat stun after ulti, so look for an initiation right here. Irelia ends up eating that, so that means that's a dead Irelia. And now we fire off all of our ultis and go to town on these dudes. Yes, indeed. Let's kill ourselves a Lux. Hey, why not? Tremor's kind of a wonderful thing in that regard. And that was a very nice cleanup right there. Extremely nice. Slight fail right there on the feast. Not that it really matters too much. You can follow it up with that. And I believe he's actually at full stack, so he doesn't care. No real concern about that. Sadly, Urgot not able to pick up the kill. But, again, it's alright. It's not too bad. And now we're just going to hang around the base, because hey, why not? Urgot quite resilient. Cho'Gath extremely resilient. Hell, Nocturne's got 3k HP because he went for the Warmogs build, so hey, why not? We've actually got a very tanky team here. Now, if they'd had a couple of characters, say, maybe a Mandrids or something like that, that might help. I say Mandrids. I know it's Madrids, but I like to call it Mandrids, yes. Yeah, that's far better. I don't know why they don't just rename it Mandrids. Oh, yes. There we go. Free inhibitor, free tower. They're back up, and now they're in very serious trouble indeed. And the wonderful thing about this is that Cho'Gath can just come in and stomp the top tower without any real resilience. If they come out to try and kill him, then we can move to intercept and do some damage. In the meantime, we're going to take ourselves a free Baron. That's not a Baron, that's a dragon. A free dragon. Very easy to make that mistake. You know what we're talking about. I'm making excuses. That's a dumb thing to say. Tanky Cho'Gath. Oh, yes. Look at that. 193, 156. Big HP. Force of Nature, which is a wonderful thing. If you happen to have a lot of HP, you really should be grabbing a Force of Nature, because it's just huge health resilience. Gigantic. Alright. Let's get some stomping action going on right here. Push down the lane once again. There are only 2 of us, but we both have the ability to get out of there quite easy. Nothing to really concern ourselves with too much. Move around the flank, move into a position where we could start to set up a gank if we so desire. Once the rest of our team gets down here, that shouldn't be a problem. I believe Cho'Gath could possibly teleport down. If we placed a ward or something along those lines. Ah, nice free lane there. But as you can see, Rammus, very effective tanking character. Kind of fun to play, as long as you don't really like getting tons of kills. If you like being the linchpin of the team, then Rammus is a good option, because he has brilliant initiation. He's also got very high survivability, so you can feel like you're doing something. You're going to tank a lot of damage as Rammus, and that's to be expected. Stompy. Cho'Gath moving in right here. And this could be absolutely perfect, because yes, we can engage them on the tower if we so desire. It's not hard at all. Tower's not doing all that much damage right now. We have Baron buff as well, just to make matters a little bit more interesting. Defensive ball curl right in here, which absorbs the vast majority of his ulti. Then taunt, trying to lock him down. He's trying to get out of there. I did a good amount of damage right there, so I was pretty happy about my tremors. Try and draw Ezreal away if we can. Draw him back towards the fight. Pick up an Irelia as well while we're here. And indeed, why not? So, things are going very, very badly for their team, I have to say. In the meantime, Urgot's been smashing down turrets right there, takes the base tower. They're stuck in their base. We have two characters that can very easily take hits from the tower without really worrying too much at all. So, what option do they really have? And unless they can get a very decisive team fight, they're basically boned. We might lose an Urgot right here, but who cares? We're going to smash our way through here in the meantime. I'm going to go directly after Ezreal. Once again, this is zoning Ezreal. My intention is not to kill Ezreal here. My intention is to keep Ezreal away from the fight, because he's a little bit scared about getting hit by Powerball. So that's what we're doing. In the meantime, I do want to be in the middle of the fight because I have that Randwins, which I keep forgetting to use, if I recall correctly. Bad habits, folks. We get in there and we do a good solid Randwins after the Powerball. It's perfect. Wonderful initiation. There we go. Take some damage from the tower. Really don't care. Just try and keep them fighting around here. Can we break this? I mean, it's going to be hard. We're up against two Nexus towers. That's pretty hard, but it's not impossible. Just going to sit in their base and just annoy the hell out of them right now. The good thing about this is that while we fight here, our super creeps are doing damage to the towers, and every now and again we'll poke at it to do some damage. Just weaken the Nexus towers. Nexus towers do regenerate quite quickly, though, as you can see, so that's a little bit concerning. Might be able to pick ourselves up a free Lux right there. Yes, we can. Nothing wrong with that. In the middle there, we end up eating an ulti, but hey, defensive ball curl is amazing. You can sink so much damage on defensive ball curl, and Tremors also did a bit of damage to that Nexus tower as well. I mean, if I'm honest, we probably should have left by now, really. Swain. I'm sure Swain actually killed me. Yeah, he just actually came in from the side and killed me with Never Move and Decrepify, I suppose. But oh well. Maybe it wasn't my last death of the game. Loads of money. We take ourselves that one, and they're now in fairly serious trouble. 2 inhibitors down, 3 inhibitors down. Tons upon tons of wondrous, absolutely wondrous super creeps piling into their base, doing big damage to the Nexus Tower, which is down to 400 HP already. So, I think Total Digest might die again right here, but it was definitely worth it. Oh, yes, I think not, perhaps. Total Digest will not die. He refuses, point blank. He actually gains a little bit of health from that kill as well. The question is, will he be able to get away from a Mumu? Eats an Ezreal ultimate, that puts him down to 200 HP, but look how fast he regens. Smack, down he goes, and somehow Total Digest escapes. And in the meantime, both Nexus towers are down, and their Nexus is now covered in super creeps, so there is some viability to sticking around in the base and just suppressing your opponents. It's kind of unpleasant, and the Nexus is going to go down. GG, there you go. A little bit of lane Rammus gameplay. Might show you some jungle Rammus at some point. Works so much better. My name is TotalBiscuit, and I shall see you next time.